So you might have seen my video about the good, the bad, and the ugly of Distrokid. In case you didn't, the basic premise was that Distrokid is basically a monopoly with a sordid history, although it does have some genuine highlights. Despite all the fun features that Distrokid has, there are some serious issues with it, so it can be difficult to decide whether to go with a platform like Distrokid or a more community-oriented platform like Beatstars Distribution. It's Andrew the Avatar here, and today we're going to get to the bottom of this. So be sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and ring the little notification bell so that way you can stay up to date on all the latest and most important information that you need to know in the music industry. Now let's dive in.
Legend don't play.
So the real issue at play here is that distributors simply have too much power in the industry right now. There's a lack of transparency, a lack of regulation, and we don't really see the invoices that, Distrokid or really any distributor is getting from the digital streaming platforms. All we see is what they say we can see. So if they say that you got $100 in royalties or 10 cents in royalties or $50,000 in royalties, you have to take them at their word. There's really no way to fact check these distributors as it stands currently, and that's an issue with any platform. Though the issue does particularly concern me with Distrokid, where there are investors in Spotify who also simultaneously have a stake in Distrokid. So it's basically the person who's supposed to be acting as the middleman for you is also the person that they're supposedly shaking down to get the money for you that you're owed. Really, an accurate way to describe this discrepancy is that it's monopolistic, right? There are a few other players, there's TuneCore, there's CD Baby, but ultimately Distrokid has really come in and taken the market share. A lot of the people who really brought this distribution platform to the internet, guys like Derek Sivers from CD Baby, have really stepped out of the industry now, and there's a sort of new group of distributors that run everything, and Distrokid has really sort of become the front runner, and Spotify is invested in them, so it's just a very difficult thing for independent artists to be able to have any idea what's really going on from distribution to the streaming platform. There's not regulation. There is this monopolistic control where, if you're a big record label, you can actually communicate directly with Spotify and distribute directly to Spotify, right? Like, Sony has its own distribution network, Atlantic has its own distribution record. But as independent artists, you're just kind of left in the dark when working with a platform like Distrokid. Something that I think is really crucial to understand here is the way that the pie is divided. How do splits work? And when you're even just splitting your own royalties that you actually get at the end of the day between the artists that you collaborate with and producers and engineers and your team, if you're on an independent label with your label, what is it that actually goes into the pie, right? I think it's very difficult to say. Like, I can't throw up a guess here. It'd probably be considered, slander to say that, like Spotify is keeping half the pie for themselves. So I'm not going to say that, but the fact of the matter is that the top 10,000 artists in the industry collect the vast majority of all royalties coming through the platforms. And if you're working with a major label, they're actually able to fight with Spotify a little more than, for example, Spotify, which owns a stake in Distrokid, really wanting to fight with themselves, right? It's like, the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme. I've said it before, and I think it's such an apt description for the relationship between Spotify and Distrokid. And ultimately, I think it really boils down to a lack of security and a lack of trust, right? So I know independent artists who've had money in their Distrokid dashboard one day and then it's not there the next day. So it's just difficult to really have any sort of recourse, any level of security in what Distrokid purports to be doing for you, or really any distributor for that matter. I just particularly go after Distrokid because they're the big player and because Spotify has a stake in Distrokid, which makes the relationship more convoluted, and there is, concern in that kind of relationship. It does become very monopolistic. And right now, it really doesn't matter which distributor you use because all of them are frankly flawed because the laws around distribution are flawed. Still, I like to think about the distributor in terms of the team behind it. A great culture makes all the difference when choosing a distributor. For example, Derek Sivers, who I mentioned earlier, who started CD Baby, began that company with the express intention of serving artists at the highest level possible. I highly recommend his book, Everything You Want or Anything You Want. It's one of those two titles. And basically that book is about how he built this business with the intention of making as positive of a customer experience as possible, right? So like back in the day, you used to be able to call CD Baby on the phone. You could call them any time and say like, hey, what's up with my release? Hey, what's going on with these royalties? Hey, what's happening? and an actual human would pick up the phone for you. Today, that's not an option in the world of distribution. CD Baby really pioneered the art of customer service and independent music distribution. However, I hate to say it, but honestly, that art is basically dead today. There is no customer service anywhere with any distributor, but there are some things that make certain distributors better, and I do have to go after Distrokid for probably being the worst that I know of in terms of actually being able to get a real response when there's a real issue. So that's why I want to talk about a platform like Beatstars and see if that's maybe a platform that's right for you. See, on the one hand, Distrokid really feels cold and faceless to me. They really have a lot of issues that need to be addressed, and I don't think that they will address them unless the US government actually steps in and forces them to address those issues. Okay, but I don't want to spend this whole video beating up on Distrokid, so click this card to watch my video on the good, the bad, and the ugly of Distrokid to learn more. Beatstars, on the other hand, in my honest opinion, has a much better culture and a much better team behind it. The trade-off is that Beatstars has a lot less features than a platform like Distrokid, and that's one of those things where I do think Distrokid does excel, is that because they are such a big company, they are able to create so many of these features, but they really lack things like community and customer service. Frankly, I just have a lot more trust in a platform like Beatstars, where they're live on Twitch, interacting with the community multiple times a week, and where they're active on social media, and where they're actually communicating with people, and there's real faces behind it, like DJ Payne 1 and the whole Beatstars team is available for the community, and that to me makes a huge difference when I'm looking at who do I want to work with, who do I want to distribute my records through. So for me, Beatstars, not having all these flashy gamified features isn't an issue, because I like the team so much more, and I like the fact that there's actually a face behind the people that I'm working with as a distributor. So when I have the choice, I personally opt to use Beatstars Distribution, but honestly, there's no avoiding Distrokid today. If I produce a record for an artist and they want to do splits with me, or it's in the contract to do splits with me, I have to actually have a Distrokid account to collect those splits, and I have to pay a membership fee to collect those splits. So it really is this sort of thing where you can't avoid Distrokid today, and that's why I say that it's like a monopoly, right? It's not like they're the electric company, but they're basically so vital and so widespread that you have to have an account with them, that you have to pay your dues to Distrokid, and I don't think that's a good system. I think that it's very corrupt to actually force people to get a membership just to collect their money that is due to them because they were the distributor of the record. What do you think about this? What platform do you like to use for your distribution, and how do you feel about Distrokid and some of the issues that we've talked about in this video? How do you feel about Beatstars and some of the things that I think are really great about Beatstars? I'm not even going to pretend like I'm going to say oh, you can choose either one. I really highly recommend Beatstars. Anyways, that's another video beating up on Distrokid. It's so much fun. Also, if you want to hear more long-form discussion about just all the crazy things going on in the music industry, as well as educational content for growing as a music producer, I highly recommend you check out my podcast, ProducerCast. There should be a card right here to go check out ProducerCast, so I'll see you there. Thank you again. I'll see you next time.